Hello, and today we will continue with Devil's Gambit. What Dad never warned me about bad influences, probably because he hoped it would never get to this point, was that they were like toppling a stack of stones. You hit one section and the entire thing crumbled down. One summer night I had been sleeping on the wolf's bed with a book in my hands when Kaidan shook me awake. While I pried my eyes open and saw darkness beyond the window, I groaned and turned my back to him. Hector, I have an idea. What? The river. Wanna go there? Alright. He shook my shoulder. I don't mean tomorrow, but now. I know a way out. No one will notice. Those words sobered me up. Kagan's proposal worried me some, but it was also exciting. Like breaking the boundary, I began pushing with our nocturnal reading sessions. However, I wondered what his escape plan was. Security around the mansion was at its tightest at night, and although they let the wolf do as he pleased during the day, I doubt they let a child wander into the forest when it was dark. Maybe he could have sneaked past them, but me, impossible. The way he was pulling at his collar, as though nervous, inspired little confidence. When we reached the staircase, I made to head downstairs, but Kaidan took my hand and pointed toward the Duke's study. This way. I thought we were going outside. You'll get it when you see it. Come on. We stopped in front of a large portrait hanging in the hallway leading to the study. A tall lying lady was sitting with her hands on her lap, a green garden barely visible behind her. Her gray, sad gaze was upon us. Who is he? Why do you want to know? Do you fancy lionesses? I punched him in the shoulder, but Kaidan made fun of me for how weak it was. Then he told me to hold still while he climbed on my shoulders. Here. There was a click and the portrait's frame came loose, or rather the wall behind it did. The wolf hopped off my shoulders, nearly knocking me down, and pulled the wall open. Tell no one, but I found this one night. A secret passage. Where does it lead? The middle of the forest, I guess. Who knows what the Duke was thinking. The wolf stepped into the opening, and when he noticed I wasn't following, he turned back with a quizzical expression. What's the hold up? Are you sure this is safe? What if there are guards in there? There aren't any. He offered me his hand, blue eyes shining like gems in the dark. They were so deep and pretty. After some hesitation, I took it and followed him into the darkness. The portrait hid a ladder, at the bottom of which lay a tunnel permeated by a musty smell. I held on to Kaidan's shoulder while we crossed it. At the end was a cellar door exiting into the forest. The night enveloped us with starry arms and lukewarm winds that rustled the leaves. The wolf reacted to my awe by crossing his arms with that searing smile of his. I started to think you only invited me to the river because you wanted to show off your secret. It was too cold at night, can't even take a dip, but I still want you to see the river. It's like a piece of the sky fell. But how do we get back? It's so dark. We mark our territory so we can find a door, duh. Oh, really? It was so simple that it sounded true, but Kaidan snickered at me. No, dummy. I crossed the trees. Indeed, many trees on the way to the river had been chipped, forming a trail. The river, as Kaidan had put it, looked like a piece of the sky fell off with stars floating on top of the surface as though they were flower petals. The wolf ran toward it and crouched. I expected him to turn around to reveal a star in his hands. Instead, he gathered water to drink it, wiping the river's surface clean. The stars returned shortly after, but the illusion of this being a piece of the sky had been shattered. The anticipation Kaidan had built up during this little adventure lost in the ripples, though it surprised me how little I cared. I wasn't transfixed by the river, but by the wolf. At times, I had thought I admired him so much that I envied him and wanted to be like him, such a naive and sweet misunderstanding. It went so much deeper, into places I didn't know existed, tapping into emotions I couldn't put into words because I never had to before. Deprived of words, when the wolf turned to me, with a half-wet face and chest, to hug him instead, as though to melt into him, to never be split apart again. When he patted me on the head in response, I barely held tears back. However, the body's language is as precise as that of the word. Although it's honest, the gaps of uncertainty can be as wide as the darkness separating the stars. No matter how strong my longing, I couldn't imagine a word for it other than friendship. The truth eluded me then, so let me remember now how I truly felt by the starry stream. Knock knock, a raspy voice asked me to wait, followed by clattering iron and arduous steps. Old man Finnbar opened the door, his eyebrows betraying his worry. Hector was surprised. I have a late shift at the hospital today, so I figured I'd stop by here earlier. Can I come in? Of course, excuse me for the mess. Every time I enter the shop while Finnbar's family is around, the air is humid and the forest is slightly hot. Today I find the embers lit in full blazy glory, as well as a hammer and a pair of tongs lying on the workbench. Seeing my fears realized, I can only sigh. Finnbar, stop working on your leg. Stop working on your leg won't heal right. He shrugs. Today I woke up with so much energy Please, it's not the first time you do this. You're not good at hiding it, but I knew you were denying unless I caught you in an act. You underestimate how much strength this sack of fleas has left. I came out of my mama's womb blacksmithing, son, and that's how I'll die. Don't be so dramatic. You're not dying, but you'll have to do all your blacksmithing from this chair if you keep this up. Now back to bed. As I'm hurrying him along, my eyes stop on the forest for a moment. I'll concede to Finnbar that he has lost nothing but youth in these long 9 years. But like the embers would still shine a blinding orange and make the air around them waver. I remember the bell jingling as Dad barges in. Like a ritual, our first stop when arriving in town is Finnbar's shop. The blacksmith lays his tools down and pulls Dad into a hug that he notices me staring and asks if I'm hungry. I'm sent off either to play with the twins or eat some berries in the kitchen while the two catch up, bringing up names and places I don't know or have only heard about. But even though he's an uncle to me, and even though the kiss he planted on my forehead during our reunion put a smile on my face, now I'm his daughter. I must see he gets much needed rest. There's no better remedy for the stubbornness of old bored people than a listening ear, so after he gets in bed, I keep him company until his family gets back. You don't get it, no one else works the forest like I do. Indeed. She needs action, I need action. Taxing activity. Let your son do the blacksmithing. I promise he'll get as good as you in time. Your dad would have understood. He'd be tearing his mustache off by now. Finnbar cackles but then falls silent. It's hard to believe he's gone. I see he left you some of my handiwork. He forces a smile and points at my belt, or rather at the buckle. He always wore it when he came to 19. Must have made him feel like a part of town. A fine piece of work, don't you think? Certainly. I didn't know it was that old, or that it originated from here. What? You didn't even recognize the two planets? They're a nice staple. Let me show you. Ah, where did I put my sketchbook? No, lay down. It's time for your examination. The moment he tries to get up, I stop him and put on my glasses. I don't need Miriam to tell his leg hasn't healed, but that's all the more reason to keep him in bed. I remove my glasses and shake his head. How does the Duke expect you to get back to work? Who knows? He'll just call whoever can walk to join the expedition. The other silver lining is that since you're not making a full recovery soon, you'll be safe. It's just like your dad sometimes. Finnbar's expression turns somber as he stares at somewhere behind me. But then he'll call my son instead, Hector. If only the demons stop interfering, then maybe the Duke would get whatever it is he wants and let us be once and for all. But I'm cut short by the jingling of the bell and footsteps approaching from the south. Finnbar's wife comes into the room fuming and as soon as she sees the old blacksmith starts hounding him for explanations about why the forest is lit. It's nice he cares so much about him. As I'm taking my leave, I recall the blacksmith's words toward the end. I don't know if it's because he also believes in the demons or because of the way he looked over my shoulder, but they make me uneasy. By now, Kaidan joining me after work is part of my routine. Despite his reassurances, paying off Son's debt had hurt his pocket to the point he skipped dinner most nights. But with Orwell's nest being our meeting spot, I have a convenient excuse to treat him. No matter how tasty the dragon's cooking is, it would be difficult to enjoy it while my friend is going hungry next to me. You're here for the people of Oblon because you need all the money you can get, but Kaidan is just as important, so I'll feed him too. Thank you. Don't mention it. What have you been up to? The Duke wanted to talk. The next attempt at the expedition starts tomorrow. Is he expecting trouble? He takes a moment to savor his food, then talks in a quiet voice. We all are. The Duke wanted me to swear I'd do all my power to catch that demon of his. By the long face, saw it's just Finnbar mentioned that today, too. It's not just him and the Duke. I've overheard the other wolves talk about demons every once in a while. It's getting creepy. Trust me, there's nothing to fear. What will you do then? I'll still look for the signs of demonic activity, although I know I won't find any. Shouldn't he summon the Inquisitors? They would be better equipped to deal with this. He already tried, but as far as they can see, all he's dealing with is a very dangerous valley. What he wants is proof to build his case to the Inquisitors. I'll still look for signs of demonic activity, although I know I won't find any. Shouldn't he summon the Inquisitors? They would be better equipped to deal with this. He already tried, but as far as they can see, all he's dealing with is a very dangerous valley. What he wants is proof to build his case to the Inquisitors. Anyway, expect the hospital to get busier too, Hector. Deep into the night, with all the oil lamps had been lit and a better veil had settled, the men in Orwell's nest retreat home to rest. A while after he finishes dinner, Kaidan gets up and I follow him to the door. But today I can't part with him, not yet, although I know I'm unquenchable, that we could spend years not leaving the other side and it would still be too little. I want to squeeze every drop of time together we can get. How about I accompany you home tonight? You sure? It's chilly outside, says the one going around with his chest exposed to the elements. Wolves are made for this climate. I know, I'm kidding. About your chest, I mean, not the walking home with you part. Right. Kaidan will adjust his cape to better keep himself warm. Hours in a row, since I came back, he's been letting my blunders pass. I wish he at least joke at my expense. Pushed along by the breeze, we huddle up and hurry to Kaidan's sack, drawing a short trail of pale breath behind us. There aren't any stars in the sky. It might rain again soon. I didn't remember one nights being this frigid. It was summer the times we were out. Do you remember when you wanted to sail the river at night, and when we got there, the first thing you did was slurp up the water? Way to spoil the mood. I was thirsty. What else should I have done? A hope for a smile on his lips, just the slightest one, and in the shadows cast I thought I saw a smirk like when we were boys, but as soon as the light from the oil lamp struck, I saw him frozen, as always, in that impassive scowl. He glances at a street leading to the Baron. Do you think about the past often, Hector? Yes, it's very nostalgic being back. I never stayed long in town, but I miss you. I miss you too. A gust hits us as we arrive at his sack. Kaidan turns to me, holding his cape as though it would fly away otherwise. What is he thinking? As I hug myself so tight as I attempt to conserve heat. He teased me for being so thin-skinned, but invited me inside nonetheless. It's not a big place, so I might have to sleep on the floor. No, he would share the bed with me. Lying together, his arms around my waist, me resting my head on his chest, the idea produces a longing so deep it's as though there's a pit where my stomach should be. But none of it come to pass. Kaidan gives me a small smile as he walks up to the door. See you tomorrow. Good night. Good night. Which sings one last look before the wolf goes inside and I turn tail back to Orwell's nest. I miss Kaidan even before I step into my night. I'm reminded of every little burn mark he left behind, and I yearn for that fire again. Then what is this silver starting at my fingers, spreading throughout my entire body? The wolf's breath is more frigid than the night's veil, and his gaze sometimes freezes me in place. The embers have long gone cold, turned to ashes and lost in the wind. Only vestiges remain of the wolf I knew. It's not strange that he's good to his fellow compatriots. No, neither is that he grew out of going on adventures, being older and busier. But would the old Kaidan have put up with the Duke's impossible demands, especially when he's been tormenting Renai for an entire year? Why is he so calm? Where did all the impulsiveness and spite go? And then there's that he doesn't sneer at me anymore. Hasn't rubbed it in my face once about how much bigger and stronger he's gotten. It's not that he's changed. Too much is just not there anymore. I'm happy to see him again, but are all those things I like gone? Did I notice my feelings far too late? I should have come back earlier, if only the plague hadn't hit, if Dad didn't die, if that damn Leopoldino made his soul burn hell didn't. The wind whistles, driving the trees into a full rut. Suddenly it's as though every smell in the forest is encroaching on me. Wood and branch alike, reaching out to scrape my nape and dig for the bone underneath. I turn around with a jerk, but there are no shadows, no red glowing eyes, just rustling leaves. Are you imagining demons now, Hector? Go to bed and stop thinking about this. Tomorrow you are a doctor. Remember, you are a doctor. Egan's masterpiece. You should be happy that you are so close to fulfilling Dad's dream. Don't waste that by shedding tears over a future that didn't come to be. Sleep, Hector. I'm growing tired of waking up to a ray of murky sunlight hitting me on the face. Would it be better to move the bed or to hang something by the window? Pondering this, I turn my back to the light. Today's always started, but I can't get out of bed. It's not because I had slept little. My nerves are delivering the memo that it's time to get up to my extremities. Or maybe they are, just slowly. Either way, I lay there, staring at the wall. not getting up, but also too mindful to fall back asleep. My head is still full of last night's thoughts, rummaging through them as though madly looking for something, except it doesn't know what that is. Maybe that's why I'm so sluggish. My brain is too busy doing something useless. I wonder what time it is. What would happen if I didn't show up at the hospital today? Gather your wits, Hector. Don't you remember the conclusion you reached last night? Here, take hold of the blanket and toss it back. Let the cold do the rest. I drag my arms, heavy like trunks, until fingertips peek out from under the blanket, and in a single motion I throw it back. The cold pierces my all-too-thin gown and flesh, bringing my nerves back to life. Where are my clothes? As always, Orwell greets me as soon as I climb down the stairs, but there's a hint of worry in his smile today. Good morning, friend. Is something ailing you? Is that obvious? Trying to avoid his gaze, I look towards the tables and find only two wolves still eating their breakfast. Pretty empty today. Everybody got up early and headed to the barren to see the explorers off. But me, I'm not leaving until every patron's needs have been taken care of. No, sir. Speaking of which, what's wrong? Can I lend you a hand or an ear? Thank you, but I just want food now. Sure thing. Since we are the only ones in the tavern by the time I finish breakfast, Orwell figures it's fine to walk with me to the barren. Near the stables, wolves and much fewer lions clad in leather armor are fastening those to the backs of beasts with the help of some farmers. The Duke's guards stand in a formation around them, blocking the other townsfolk from getting too close. We stand among the worried friends, puzzled children, and frustrated women watching the scene. Orwell. How do I say this? I thought it would be a bigger caravan than this. Didn't the Duke want to build a settlement? Oh, yes, the valley proved to be so problematic that His Grace made a tactical decision to postpone that. These men will survey the deeper parts. Where into now? Where into? Orwell? I whisper as there's a dragon. Yes. How did I say this? I thought it would be a bigger caravan than this. Didn't the Duke want to build a settlement? Oh, yes. The valley proved to be so problematic that His Grace made a tactical decision to postpone that. These men will survey the deeper parts of the valley and recover any relics that they come across. Most of my patients in the hospital are scouts that had a wonder with the valley's treacherous terrain. One of the monsters within. I guess the Duke's still looking for a spot for the settlement, but has had no luck. It's insane that this has been happening for a year. The wolves are allowed a moment to say goodbye to their families and friends before the guards announce their departing. The forest is tall as they walk into it, no doubt invaded by the same encroaching sensation I had felt last night. No, it must be so much worse. Walk into the devil's den, unsure how long they'll last before they wake up in a hospital bed, assuming they get help at all, that the Eye Valley doesn't swallow them up. It's a miracle no one's died yet. Good morning, you two. A small scream escapes me. My eyes burn as lion and wolf alike suit me, startled glances. Demons, if you still exist, there's no better moment to kidnap me than now. What's wrong? He's been off since he woke up. It's just because I overslept and I'm running late for work. I have to go now. See you later. See you later. What a stupid lie, Hector. You're running late for work. How come you can't afford to stop to watch explorers depart? But Kaidan doesn't press me, and I avoid what will have been our most awkward conversation yet. But I don't have any such excuse during dinner. I had hoped to hold a decent conversation by then, especially because I have no issue focusing while on the clock, but my thoughts get thrown back into disarray the moment I see the wolf. Kaidan knows something is up. He has to. So, trouble today? What? At the hospital. Oh, he's talking about the expedition. Just as usual. I figured you had a rough day at work, though you were jumpy this morning too. I just didn't sleep too well. We eat a few spoonfuls of stew until Kaidan rescues us from the silence. Hector, do you remember the Lee Burning Festival? It sounds familiar, but where did I hear it first? Not during this stay, for sure. I tried to organize my thoughts to search further back. I asked Kaidan about it once, but before that the wolf coachman, who still had bone and flesh where now a peg leg is, missing it when we visited during late spring. Now comes the hard part, stringing sentences together. Don't overthink, Hector. Just say something, anything. Right, I never participated with us staying at the mansion. He already knows that, idiot. It'll be summer soon. You should come. I'm really sure now that I have the chance. It seems not even the Duke's tyranny can stop the wolves from celebrating their traditions. What does it entail? We go around town, the forest, and the fields gathering haze leaves. We hold a carnival before putting them in a heap and burning them. Then we dance and eat. That sounds fun. We do something similar back home, except for the burning part. Is haze leaf native to Renai? What does it look like? The wolf takes a sip from his beer. There are these plants with purple midribs. Ah, then I've seen some. They smell funny. The words don't come out after that. Every question I have about the haze leaf sounds stupid. I'm afraid to bore him if I continue talking about Oblon's traditions. I'll draw a blank when coming up with a new topic. In the end, we eat in silence, except for when Kaidan makes small talk here and there. The walk to his home is the same. At least there's no demon tuts on the way back. They were busy, far too busy to stalk a foolish badger peering into the forest. I know because the next day I entered the hospital received by an unmanned reception and pandemonium resonating from the main ward. As I was saying, I remember the lions and wolves marching into the forest. If memory serves me right, there were 36 men in that caravan. I remember their faces, recognized them lying on the main ward's beds in different states of hurt. Some were tracked down with a lost look in their eyes. About a third of them are here now. No wasted time. I joined the others in treating those still in need of urgent care. I'm abstaining from visiting my usual patients today to help at the hospital. The head doctor orders it, though I would have done so regardless. Kaidan arrives at some point and interviews the few men and condenses the talk. It's past noon by the time I'm allowed to leave the hospital to take some fresh air. The wolf comes out not long after. Hector. Kaidan. Any findings? One of them brought back his logbook. I've been reading it. I'm heading to the valley to investigate now. I guess I'll see you later then. Good luck with the demon hunt. Are you done with work for the day? Why don't you come too? What, to the valley? The expedition is still ongoing, and most of the men are out there in the valley. It would be good for a doctor to be there in case more trouble rears its head. Besides, I'm only going as far as the camp at the border of the valley. What do you say? What will I enter the valley for? To risk getting chewed alive by it as well? It's all danger and nothing to gain. Kaidan has a job to do and knows it's dangerous well, so for him it makes sense. But I am the complete opposite. Surely there's somebody with more experience that can accompany him instead of me. Whether I turn to instinct or reason, the answer is to stay away. That it would be crazy to go. Later, when we're merrily walking into the forest together, I conclude that the only scientific explanation for my choice is that I've lost my damn marbles. Kaidan talks about his morning on the way to the valley. The explorer reached the new shrine, the one in the forest, asking for help. That rescue party, apparently prepared beforehand, was sent out. One of the Duke's guards showed up at Kaidan's door, not until it woke him up, and relayed this. Unfortunately, the rescue party had taken the explorer to guide them to the camp, so the wolf spent most of the morning waiting for their return. Once they came back, Kaidan talked to that explorer and then headed to the hospital, and I know the rest. The terrain becomes rougher the closer we draw to the Eye Valley. Kaidan takes my hand and helps me traverse the rest of it. I'm terrified, yet my heart pumps with excitement. God, this is like the little adventures we used to have. Now it's not so little anymore. We are adults after all. It's the first time I catch a glimpse of the Kaidan from 9 years ago. The forest opens up to reveal the ruins I've heard so much about. They are not as imposing as I imagined them to be. Most aren't much bigger than a house back in the village. The ones that have partially collapsed, rubble accumulating on top or inside them. They are almost entirely composed of stone. Now it's rough and crumbling, but that it's still standing at all is paramount to its perseverance. Kaidan, who do you think lived here? The demons? Tales of demons erecting temples or even entire cities aren't unheard of, but those accounts always involve a pact with a mortal party and things going wrong immediately after. It's believed the demons built this place for a tribe contracted to them. We don't know for sure. When I has passed hands between many kingdoms, and since these ruins are easy to reach, they've been looted just as many times. It's regrettable, but there isn't anything left that can tell us the truth. Regrettable indeed. The caravan went this way. Watch the step. Not only is its terrain from here on out more unstable, but there are also pits. I think I'll just stay right behind you. I still watch out. They move every once in a while, so I might get surprised by one that wasn't there before. I see. Maybe in a month or two, I'll ask him what that means. I need to finish digesting the horrors I've already heard about before asking for another serving. I'm practically hugging him from behind as we descend. Past the ruins is a vast chasm, a scar splitting the mountains from which stone and root sprout, ruins dwarfing those of the valley's threshold, overgrown with plant life of matching size. Pitch black eyes of the mountains, walls overlook the treetops. Water flows from the neighboring summits, pulling into the valley's depths. The breeze carries the scent of dozens of springs. I breathe in the mixture, and it burns my nose so much I check my nostrils for bleeding. Then I glance at Kaidan and imposingly the mountain range behind him before proceeding further down. Our surroundings turn into more of a jungle than a forest, with smells so concentrated I'm concerned about my nose's sensitivity. A trail of footprints belonging both to wolf and beast tells us we are on the right track. We spot hints of white fabric beyond the dense plant life, and soon find many tents arranged in a semicircle around a campfire that's been out for hours. Two wolves stand on guard, their hands not leaving their blade sheaths for a second as we catch sight of a third one walking behind the tents. Off to the side are the caravan's beasts idly munching on flowers. There's also a constant chirping around us, as though dozens of cicadas were hiding in the grass nearby, though I've never heard of cicadas living in a climate like Renai's. Are you alright, Hector? Yes, I'm overwhelmed, is all. I mean, not because I'm scared, though I am, but being here is an assault on the senses. You'll get used to it. We approach the explorers, who greet Kaidan before asking who I am. After a few introductions, the peacekeeper asks questions about their activities today and yesterday. One wolf recounts the events of last night. It was at night, he says, when the choir around the camp reached its peak, and they couldn't hear even their thoughts, right after they returned for the day's expedition. He points towards the fireplace, where I picture him sitting in front of the lit fire in the dark. The iron pot above it holds a bubbling mixture of vegetables and meat. It's nothing fancy, and the smell is picked up from the ointment used to keep the sweet bugs away, making him turn his nose, but it'll be feeling enough. There's fluttering behind him, someone exiting a tent. It's one of the new line recruits from the Duke's land. The wolf expects to be hounded about when food will be ready, but the lion just stares off into the night. He mutters something, but the wolf doesn't catch it. What? The lion scans the dark, searching. One of his friends exits the tent and asks if he's feeling well. Realizing something's wrong, the wolf puts the fire iron down and silently gets his feet. What should he do? Could it be haze leaf? If so, it would be wise to get a tranquilizer while the lion is calm, because chances are he won't stay that way for long. Or would it be better to restrain him now? His friend might not understand they are outsiders, ignorant of the extent of the valley's dangers. He could call the other wolves for help if they resist, but if Manuel's men see a bunch of wolves ganging up on lions, they might misunderstand. They think it's mutiny, and then it will only spiral from there. The wolf realizes his only option is to get the tranquilizer. However, that moment hesitation costs him and everyone else dearly. Just as he makes up his mind, the lion that had been staring into the night screams. He turns around and flees into the darkness behind the camp. The friend makes the mistake of going after him first. Another wolf sees this and follows him, yelling to stop. Now perhaps that is the right choice, since he will die and nobody drags him back. If the earth doesn't swallow him, the wildlife will. The most dangerous creatures lurk at night. However, in the dark and fighting to keep the lion down, and while waiting for somebody to bring a sedative, they fail to notice the trap they have fallen into, a haze leaf patch that goes unnoticed. It's only when they return to their camp and all hell breaks loose that their mistake becomes apparent. The sound of Kaidan clearing his throat brings us back to the present. Where do you keep the sedatives? And about that line you mentioned, who screamed? Are his belongings still here? Where's his mask? After the wolves answer his questions, Kaidan tells them to return to their posts. A detail about the wolves' stories unnerving me, so I ask Kaidan about it once we are alone in a tent. Kaidan? Yes, Hector? He searches for something among a pile of bags and crates behind the bedrolls, occasionally lifting a loose lid to check what's inside. His ears points my way, though, waiting for me to continue. Is it haze leaf, that plant you gather for the festival? The town's haze leaf is harmless, if that's worrying you. But as for the valleys, you saw those massive trees deeper in, right? They look like the ones in the forest, but gigantic. As the valley does that to them, similarly, the haze leaf here grows into something bigger and dangerous. Kaidan grabs a case that was hiding between the two crates and opens it. A small gas escapes me at the sight of a series of large syringes holding a pale yellow substance, each held inside a slot by a leather band. 3 slots are vacant. He closes the case and leaves it on a bedroll. The valley's haze leaf brings out the most primal parts of men. Thanks to the Duke, the people of Wanai are tired and angry. The lions are not only what. The town's haze leaf is harmless, if that's worrying you, but as for the valleys, you saw those massive trees deeper in, right? They look like the ones in the forest, but gigantic. Yes, the valley does that to them. Similarly, the haze leaf here grows into something bigger and dangerous. Kaidan grabs the case that was hiding between the crates and opens it. A small gas escapes me at the sight of a series of large syringes holding a pale yellow substance, each held inside a slot by a leather band. 3 slots are vacant. He closes the case and leaves it on a bedroll. The valley's hazily brings out the most primal parts of men. Thanks to the Duke, the people of Renai are tired and angry. The lions are not only far from home, but surrounded mostly by people cold to them and movements of demons. Imagine what would happen if they were to lose the capacity to hold back their anger, their fear. Then the hazily made the first lion scared, hence him run away, and made the other 2 that followed him attack their companions. Is that it? Kaidan nods. God must have been horrible. Some men in the hospital looked as though a beast did that to them. I assume they used the tranquilizers on the afflicted. Yes, it's best to put them to sleep until the hazely's effect passes. In any case, according to the logbook, yesterday part of the group had difficulties getting back to the camp from one of the deeper parts of the valley. Since it was getting late, they took a risk and crossed a hazily patch to come back. They were wearing masks, so it should have been fine, but it's possible the lion committed a mistake, or that his mask was effective, or he inhaled some fumes. And the rest played out like we already heard. I bet that the hazily made his fear for the demons manifest, and he thought he was seeing things in the dark. We'll know for sure once he recovers consciousness. I guess so. Shall we inspect his mask? I'm not very savvy with those. We'll take it to Renai for somebody else to do that. Are we done then? Not quite. I'd like to find the hazily that they said the lion and the other 2 went into. The Duke won't be satisfied otherwise, and neither will I. Oh? I'm starting to worry about the townspeople believing in the demon rumor. If hysterics take over the town, they won't end well. We can't leave a smidge of doubt as to what happened. We are heading deeper then. My soul is wise, and I take a deep breath and exhale. Alright, let's get it over with. You could stay here if you're scared. Please think of your safety for a moment. What if something happens and you're alone out there? I don't know, Hector. Do you think you could drag me here? Were I unable to move? I could give you medical attention or call for help. I haven't restocked on elixir since I left Orwell's nest, but still. Fair enough, just stay behind me. As if he needs to say it. Once we leave the camp, I feel like a little kangaroo, too scared to abandon his mother's pouch or Kaidan's back. In my case, the wolf readies his axe or on the lookout for danger. Throughout the ever-growing vegetation, I sense the mountain's eyes staring at us. Beneath the earth, endless, spindly fingers follow our movements, never leaving the sole of our feet. The tree branches creak closer, and I'm about to pull Kaidan's cape and shout to watch out when I notice that, rather they are walking back and forth, birds take off from the rooftops and flapping on their wings, quickly fading into the distance. We halt as heaven and earth alike suddenly tremble. I clutch the wolf's cape, but soon it becomes apparent that, though big enough to be confused for a Titan's step, the source of the tremors is too far away to be a concern. At least Kaidan thinks so, considering he resumes his march. The tremors return intermittently, but we ignore them. That is until Kaidan starts suddenly and I bump into him. What happened? The path ahead looks rather undisturbed. Stay back, Hector. He throws his cape over his shoulder like a makeshift scarf and, after scanning the terrain, pushes a patch of tall grass aside with his blade. The green strands give place to pulsing purple veins spread across the ground, leaves with razor-sharp edges growing out of them. I look back, thinking I see them slither, but that's not it. They're still, yet they aren't. One time I was waiting under a tree when it became cloudy, fearing getting caught in the rain, and Dad scolded me for ruining his book. I figured it was time to head home. However, I noticed while closing the book that the pages became translucent under the sunlight, so I stayed out a bit longer, holding out pages to the sky and watching the letters fade in and out as the clouds passed by. This is front of me. This in front of me now is just like that. But how? Am I hallucinating? Kaidan, do you see that? What is that? The wolf hops back and fixes his cape. That's our culprit. Eye Valley haze leaves. Let's get out of here. By the time we are back to the camp, fatigue weighs down my legs and lungs as a silver lining Kaidan lets me hold on to his arm and hold on to his arm the rest of the way to Wanai. I just wish I wasn't out of breath and in pain. Perhaps if he carried me instead, no had to bury the thought. Upon returning to the town, while Manuel's guards intercepts us near the hospital, Kaidan hands him the mask and informs him of our findings. He makes it brief since he's more concerned about getting me to Orwell's nest. We stop in front of the tavern. Kaidan is reluctant to let me go, trying to hold my hand as I walk toward the door, while I let his touch linger for a bit. I break contact with a chuckle. Come on, I'm not so tired that I can't walk. I sort of figured it would be 2 months to walk to the camp and then back. Don't worry, I'm fine. Everything below my waist as well as part of my torso is burning, but I can still force a smile. Is it weird that... Never mind. No, go ahead. Is it weird that I had fun? It was scary, but I don't know why. I also enjoyed it. It felt certain considering the town's situation. Kaidan shrugs. You've always had a taste for adventure. Don't think too bad about it. He passed me the soda. Get some rest, Hector. You will need it. Alright, see you later. A sigh escapes me as the wolf throws me his back and walks away. Despite my exhaustion of how much I wanted to get in bed and snore until morning, letting go of him isn't any easier. But well, after drinking some water and eating a loaf of bread, I head straight to my room and do just that. Instead of dropping onto the bed as I am, but my clothes feel hot and itchy. I need something fresh. However, once I change and get into bed, the dreams come easily. The expedition continues across the next few days, but it's short-lived until the Eye Valley choose the remaining men and spits them out in no time. Manuel isn't happy with Kaidan's reports, insisting the accidents are the work of demons. However, without evidence to back his claims, those are little more than the ramblings of a desperate man. The busy days that follow keep me from thinking much about Kaidan. By the time work slows down and I return to my normal schedule, my thoughts are more in order. As for what I experienced in the Eye Valley, the mountain's eyes, the earth's fingers rumbling in that ever-changing vine, most will forget about it, bury it somewhere, hoping it never resurfaces. However, when I recall the moment Kaidan asked me to come with him, his hands as we crossed the forest, my fingers gripping his cape, my arm around his on the way back, I can't help but hold that ember close to my chest. Nuts slipped from my arms and rolled down the riverbank. Dust and pebbles flew back as I waded into Kaidan's side. Each time the wolf had pulled at his collar, I had thought nothing of it. Even today, when I had been doing it with such frequency, seeing him kneeling, gripping his neck while he gasped for air as though his life depended on it, was like being slapped in the face. How breathless could I be? Hadn't I learned from Dad to spot sign symptoms? But there was no time to regret my foolishness. I had to focus, figure out a way to help him. Was it because of the cyclical lethargy? We've been checking him every day. It's very unlikely for that or some other illness to be the cause. Dad would have noticed it. An allergy? He ate nothing unusual, nor do I see anything around that could have caused a reaction. Could I even make it to the mansion? There was no time to brew anything, and you weren't sure the elixirs you had would help. I didn't even know what was wrong with him. Then you remember Dad. You had to call Dad. Kaidan stopped me before I could run off. Although in tears and heaving, he still had enough strength to grab me by the arm and pull back so hard it seemed he was trying to make me fall into the river. I got spun around and fell on my face. Kid, you need medical attention. No, I'm fine. I didn't understand, but seeing that stubbornness, I was inclined to believe him. His grip both on me and his throat relaxes a little. Where are the nuts? Stop joking around. Kaidan stared longingly at the nuts, as though not being able to reach them was hurting him more than having trouble breathing. With a sigh, I went to get them for him. Some had rolled off and fell into the river. Nothing that I could do about that. Thanks. He cracked a nut open and ate it, still holding his throat all the while. After a moment, he put a finger on my chin and closed mine until then gaping mouth for me. You're welcome. No, wait, what was that? What happened to you? It was nothing. If you don't tell me, I'm asking Dad. You won't. I will if I think you're ill. But I'm not. I mean, besides the lethargy thing, or whatever, it's just... Despite my eyes meeting his ears when standing still to each other, it was easy to forget how small Kaidan was. I remembered that for the first time in a long time as I watched him curl up, hugging his knees. He lowered his gaze, but I still caught a glimmer of tears pooling in his eyes. Do you ever feel like someone squeezing your chest real hard, or, I don't know, like you have a knot in your throat, and then so tight you can't breathe anymore? He choked, unable to keep up the ad. Were his tears out of desperation because he couldn't breathe, or did they hold a deeper meaning? I didn't understand until weeks after, when Kaidan said it in a way I could get it. But until then, the image of the wolf on the ground, as though being choked by an invisible force, became stuck in my mind. Whenever I closed my eyes or my thoughts drifted to the wolf, his anguished expression was there, waiting for me. When Dad asked me if something was wrong, unable to withstand his gaze on top of everything else, I told him what had happened. First, you shouldn't have kept this a secret. You should have let me know immediately. I'm sorry. I didn't raise you to hide things from me, but I digress. We've examined Kaidan dozens of times, yet the prismarium hasn't revealed an imbalance that could explain what you described. But the prismarium has its limits, namely, it can't show us abnormalities in the fifth layer reason. Then that's where the imbalance is. Is it that bad? Don't be scared. Although we lack a good understanding of reason, it is but another layer. Illnesses related to it aren't so uncommon, and many aren't life-threatening. And as for if there is related to the cyclical lethargy, I doubt it. We can't be sure, but that doesn't mean we should make baseless assumptions. Okay, but can we help him then? Dan hummed as he rubbed his chin. I know this colleague that studies reason, and he's told me about a few cases similar to what you described. Hector, have you noticed him acting strange in any other way? For instance, has he been angry, sad, or scared? He always seemed angry to me, but that day he was sad more than anything. I told him if he wanted to look for nuts because I thought that would cheer him up. He snapped his fingers. Yes, he's always angry. Do you know why? I couldn't look at his face, and as I said the next few words and moments I shared with Kaidan, what I learned about him, those were only hours. It felt unfair to share it, even with Dad, but if it led to me understanding the wolf better, maybe even helping him, perhaps it was a worthy sacrifice. He doesn't want to be here. He hates the Duke. Once I thought he hated doctors, but no, he distrusted us because the Duke hired us. It's believed that the mind isn't that different from the less abstract parts of our body. Similarly to how you can injure your leg by overexerting it, going through certain situations can injure the mind. Kaidan had been captive and kept away from his community for a long time, at the mercy of a man he hates, all because he fell victim to an unknown disease. It's not surprising that it's affecting him, no? Can we help him? The earlier we finish our job, the earlier the Duke will let him go. In the meantime, your friendship might help him get through these difficult times. Keep being kind to him. That said, that's no excuse to keep secrets. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Dad. That was my first successful lie. When Dad said "but me," I knew little about reason then, and concerned researchers rather than practicing doctors, so he didn't teach me about it. But knowing the learned friends he had, I figured his words made sense. If they made sense, then what was bothering me? I had forgotten about it until now, but I remember it, that nagging sensation in the back of my head, and now I have an idea. Suppose Kaidan was reacting to the abnormal situation he had been put through. Who's to say the reaction started with him choking when nothing obstructed his throat? Wouldn't it make more sense if that was the end rather? What happened when every other defense had been overwhelmed? But if so, would the Kaidan end and this response start? It made me nervous, but Hector, you already have an answer to that question. You've seen what he's like in town, but then why did he let me follow him into the valley? Maybe there's more left of the old Kaidan than I realize. Well, you won't get anywhere worrying all by yourself. Why not ask him about it? You know, it's not a good idea, but you might need this no matter the result. I don't know. I'm too nervous. Would picking a day to talk to him help? How about the day of the leaf burning festival? Perhaps that will do. Yes, perhaps. I think I'll stop right here. So I wonder if that disease or condition Kaidan had as a kid with his throat could that have been the work of a demon? That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's something else to it, but it could have been the work of a demon. I don't know. So Hector has been noticing that Kaidan hasn't been acting the way he used to act when he was a kid. Because, you know, he's kind of, Kaidan when he was a kid, he was mischievous. He often disobeyed the adults by going out to the forest or taking books for themselves without permission and all that. So Hector really misses that part of Kaidan. You know, the snarky kid and always this witty remarks and stuff like that. It's been a decade since, and he's very much mature now. He's a lot more mature, and he certainly does not have that snarky part of him anymore, or most part anyway. He still has a little bit of that, but most of it's gone now. And I'm surprised that he never rubbed it in Hector's face about him being bigger or stronger than him now, because, you know, Hector was actually a little bit bigger than Kaidan was when they were kids. So I thought that he might have rubbed it in Hector's face, you know, talking about him being bigger and taller than him now, but he never did, and Hector found that strange. So not everybody stays the same forever. I mean, as people age and as children become adults, they change. And when they get more responsibilities and, you know, like with jobs and all that, and, well, helping the town, they usually their personalities change. So he's certainly more humble now than he was when he was a kid. He's more kinder, now than he was as a small kid living in the house of the Duke. And that snarky, rude kid is something had to misses about Kaidan. So, and that he wants back. But, people change, and when you reunite with them, they're not the same person they used to play with a decade ago. It's been a decade, and they went through things, and they've changed. So, yeah, we'll continue with Devil's Gambit next time. We'll see the Duke again. So, thank y'all very much for watching. Goodbye.